Okay, now we get to the mighty rivers of North America. One thing I want to point out first is that we've got this continental divide here. Remember, we talked about that if it lands on one side of the continental divide, on one side of the mountains, it'll head towards the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico, and if it lands on the other side, it'll go towards the Pacific. And as you can see here, the river starts from here, goes into the Pacific, and then anything that starts over here, like the Rio Grande, the Missouri, they're heading towards the Gulf of Mexico or Atlantic or somewhere on the East Coast. Uh, so let's go through the rivers and explain their importance. Now, the first thing that I want to point out are these three rivers right here. They form like a tree, so and they can be a little bit confusing. But the one that's like the stump of the tree, the trunk of the tree, that's the Mississippi River, and that's easy to remember because it is probably the most important river that we have here in the United States. It's a great transportation hub. Um, it's used to transport farm and industrial products. It links the U.S. ports and other parts of the world. And of course, it's the most famous river here in America. So anything that's along the Mississippi, it's very wide. It's long also, but not the longest, but it is very wide and very strong. And it enters, as you can see, the other two rivers that are these two major rivers, as well as many, many smaller rivers, flow into the Mississippi and then come out here in New Orleans. All of the traffic that can be, all the trade can go through here and then, as we said in the last lesson, get out to the Gulf of Mexico and then Atlantic Ocean, and then it could go anywhere in the world that they want to go. The second one is also an M. This is the Missouri River. The Missouri River is very similar to the Mississippi. It also is used to transport farm and industrial products, so that's a similarity. But it is also the longest river in America. Uh, in fact, Lewis and Clark will use this to get out into this area. A third river that flows into the Mississippi, that's a huge major river, is the Ohio River. This is called the gateway to the West, and obviously it doesn't go that far west when we think about what America is today. But back in colonial days, when they're mostly in this area over here, they'd get on the Ohio River and they'd be able to get to a lot of places out west. They can get to the Missouri River, but this is the gateway to the West. Uh, it crossed it crosses or forms the borders of six states: Illinois, Indiana, so we got Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky down here, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. So it crosses the Pennsylvania um, border and then forms Ohio and West Virginia border, and then the border between Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. So it's a very important river, not just for boundaries, but to allow all of these products to come through here and then down to the Mississippi. Then we have the St. Lawrence River, and I mentioned this in the last lesson. It connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes and allows all of these inland cities to thrive. Um, it forms part of the northwest border with Canada, as you can see right here, but not all of it, as Maine stops in this area here. But all these other states are separated from Canada on this part here. Then we get to the less familiar rivers. We got the Columbia River, and this is where Lewis and Clark ended up. They took the Missouri River and then got to the Columbia River. So, when you get a question on, what was the river explored by Lewis and Clark, this is the one that we're going to assign to that. It's the fourth longest river in North America. Then we have the Colorado River. Colorado River is made famous because it carves the Grand Canyon right over here and was explored and mapped by the Spanish, as we see in the um, our chapter on exploration. The Spanish are coming um, in this area over here, so a lot of things are going on, and the Spanish are the ones that find this Colorado River. And then finally, we have the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande is a very important river to our southwest. It provides water for much of the southwest and forms part of the border between Texas and Mexico.